The big story this afternoon, that path of destruction.
Right now, the cleanup effort is underway in Shiawassee County. We now know at least 2 tornadoes touched down.
And the damage is just incredible. 60 homes destroyed, cars were tossed in the air, trees uprooted, power lines knocked down. Much of the area will be in the dark tonight.
And here's what we know. The first tornado hitting just after 6:45 last night in Bennington Township. The second, a much larger tornado touching down just minutes later in Vernon and Durand.
Yeah, and we have Team 7 coverage. Chief Meteorologist Dave Rexroth is live at a house that took a direct hit. But
tonight we begin with 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson live in Durand with a miracle that emerged from this mess.
Yeah, I'm currently in Durand, and you can see there are roads closed behind me, to the side of me. You can see the flashing lights of work trucks as they work to get power and electricity cords back on. The latest info I've gotten from the Sheriff's Department is that they've now seen 70 homes that have been damaged, about a dozen of those completely destroyed. And one man I spoke with who is very emotional says he actually saw the home his mother was in get a direct hit from a tornado.
It all happened in 2 seconds. You know, that's what it was. 2 seconds.
Pat Fuja's 86-year-old mom Shirley was sitting in this armchair when those 2 seconds of terror struck.
My brother called her and said, "You better take cover," and she stood up and looked out the window, and that's when it hit.
Pat watched helplessly from the end of the driveway as an EF-2 tornado descended on his mother's house.
Tree go flying, all of a sudden the house just like imploded or whatever.
What went through your mind in that moment, knowing your mom was inside?
Yeah, I just had to get up here as quick as I could.
That panic?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're still even emotional now thinking about it.
Yeah, it was tough.
Just looking at the aftermath, you can see the house was lifted off its foundation, then dropped back into the basement, forcing walls to collapse. Winds ripped off the roof. Every window was busted. Shirley Fuja inside the entire time. Yet somehow she and her chair were untouched.
I had to crawl down there and grab her arm and kind of pull her up. You can see the angle the couch is on in there.
Yeah.
I got her to grab the couch and pull her way up. All the way up, and I just couldn't believe she didn't have a scratch on her hardly. 86 years old, and that was just a miracle that she was fine.
It really is a miracle seeing that house in person and knowing that she doesn't have a scratch or a bruise on her. Really incredible. Meanwhile, there are over 1,000 people without power. You can see I'm wearing my hood. The wind's really kicked up. It's actually hailing right now. It was raining just minutes ago. So the weather isn't great for this cleanup. It isn't great for people who are trying to get the power restored. I know 7 First Alert meteorologist Dave Rexroth is in another part of town where the EF-2 tornado flew through, tearing things apart. How are things going there, Rexroth?
Well, the cleanup, as you can see, is underway here, and they're trying to get this buttoned up as much as they can tonight. This was a direct hit on this house. We are over here in Bancroft, corner of Bancroft, just south of Vernon, southwest of Vernon, west of Durand, and this was a direct hit. This is a 2-story home, and the one thing I can tell you, if you look at the debris field in the yard here, the top half of the house is more or less gone. The part you can't see on the back is actually hanging over the bottom of the house. Well, this is a great example of why we tell you to get as low as possible in the interior portion of the house, because this is the kind of damage that twisters can do. Again, came right across the lot here. I'm going to walk you over here. The weather has not been good. Last night, obviously, the problems. Now we're going to talk about the forecast just a little bit, but I'm trying to get through the mud to show you pieces of the house. That same house we just showed you are scattered throughout the yard here. You can see plywood. There is insulation in the trees. The truck that used to be next to the house is in the neighbor's yard now. We'll show you that in a little bit. But if you look down the power lines, which are all back up and running here, that far tree, you can actually see a part of the roof about 30 feet up in that tree. So absolutely a direct hit here of that second tornado. The wild thing about storms like this is that if you spin around with me, watch out behind you, Matt, with the mud there. We're going to look across the street here. This is less than 100 feet away. Some branches off of a tree and a few shingles and a couple pieces of siding at the house. So it's always a mystery how that happens. Lots of times inside the actual funnel, the tornado, there could be stronger winds whipping around. We call them suction vortices. So you can have a direct hit and almost a complete miss right next to each other like this. It's always amazing to see.